Hi, everyone, and welcome to our talk. My name is Goldenberg, and I run product management for Transmit Security. Transmit is the leading identity experience company who delivers identity innovation for the largest organizations and companies around the globe. In today's talk, I'd like to share with you from our experience and knowledge and describe some of the best practices for overcoming the challenges of going passwordless. Starting with setting the right business goals, touching on some of the technical challenges in going passwordless, and continuing with supporting your customers and end user as they go to adopt the new authentication methods. There are multiple technologies and authentication methods that offer passwordless authentication. However, if you're attending this conference, then you probably have already decided that your path to passwordless is by implementing a FIDO-based solution in your organization. Or you're close to making this decision, which, by the way, is a great decision. But what's next? First, you need to identify the key challenges that you're about to face and make sure that you choose the right solution to solve them. Complexity. Authentication solutions tend to be complex. Complex to deploy, complex to scale, complex to maintain. You should look for a powerful solution which is simple to operate. Security. The obvious reason for going passwordless is moving away from passwords, and therefore you must make sure and you must check the user journeys from end to map any fallback to passwords. Portability. Customers want to be able to log in from any device, even if the device that they're accessing with does not support FIDO. You need to be able to solve this challenge. And lastly, you need to make sure that you go passwordless across all channels. Otherwise, you create a fragmented and frustrating experience for your customers, which defeats one of the main goals, to improve user experience. So let's start with the business outcomes. Just like any other strategic effort in your organization, you need to define a clear, measurable business outcome to drive this effort. Going passwordless can help you achieve multiple business outcomes. However, it is crucial you define the ones that are most important for your organization at this moment. Whether your goal is to reduce login failure by 20 to 40%, or to increase registration, or whether your goal is to cut the call center costs or to remove the cost of SMS OTP, it is important that you define a clear, measurable goal and that you identify the relevant stakeholders, that you get their inputs, that you get their buy-in, and that you drive this project together within the organization. After you did this, you need to start looking straight in the face of the challenges. Challenge number one, complexity. Customer identity and access management has become very complex, and many organizations have a heterogeneous science stack that requires advanced orchestration solutions. In Transmit, we know it very well because we provide these orchestration solutions for many of the leading organizations in the world, which allows them to manage and operate their stack. But when you look at the complexity and when you try to question and to really find what is the root cause, what made these identity stacks become so complex over the year, you realize that it's just the nature of the evolution. Most of the identity stacks started with passwords, username and passwords that were very manageable. But then as an industry, we understood that we wanted to increase the bar. We wanted to make sure that the authentication experience is more secure. And then we've added OTPs. We then added push notifications, KDAs, and even verification of non-digital identities in some cases. From a user perspective, we've created and we've ended up with a journey that is very complex. And from an architecture perspective, it also became too complex. Not only is it too complex, it does not deliver the promise of strong security balanced with a good user experience. It is clear now that adding more and more tools on top of your stack is not the simple answer. And as an industry, we should look at this differently. With the right authentication solution, the journey, and the underlying architecture can be simplified without compromising anything that you need. You can reduce the friction and improve the security for your customers. And I want to clarify, not all passwordless authentication solutions are simple to integrate and simple to operationalize. So it is important that you find a solution that enables you to do that, that provides you with an effortless integration to all of your apps, all of your channels, based on industry standards like OpenID Connect. And then if you go with the right solution, you will be able to simplify the architecture and the experience by removing redundant and unnecessary authentication methods now that you established the strong passwordless authentication within the organization. In parallel to simplifying the deployment and integration, there is also another aspect of complexity that you need to take care of, and this is the user experience. Make sure that the passwordless experience that you provide to your users is intuitive and self-explanatory. And the best way to achieve that is by involving your product teams, your design teams, your user research teams very early in the project and test dedicated experiences to gain user feedbacks as quickly as possible. Another way to do it is to partner with a vendor with proven experience that already went through these processes and these steps of doing the user research and came with a very polished and mature end user experience. We have performed multiple design workshops with our customers, and each time it resulted in a great success. More effective project, greater user feedback, and higher satisfaction. So we highly recommend you do this, and you do not skip this because you think that you can do it later. Challenge number 2 is security. Passwordless does not mean using passwordless. And I want to repeat it. Passwordless does not mean using passwordless. It means not using password at all. And there it is your responsibility to look for the hiding passwords in the solution that you choose, that you implement, and in the user journey. You cannot assume that all FIDO certified passwordless authentication solutions are the same. And what you have to do is to look for the passwordless native solutions, which means solutions that do not involve password. They do not involve password in the user store. They do not involve password in the browser that maybe remembers some of the passwords. It does not use password as part of the recovery process. It simply does not use password. So no shared secret between the user, the client, and your service. And if you think about why is it so important, just look at the statistics. Take phishing, for example. 74% of the organizations in the United States experienced a phishing attack in 2020. And what about all the other attack methods? Passwords are bad for you. You know it. Make sure that if you go passwordless, you really go passwordless. Challenge number 3, portability. We must remove password from every user authentication across all devices and browsers. It is not enough to take care of one combination of a device and a browser. And when you look at a typical user, you'll see hundreds of micro experiences. You see lots and lots of combinations of users using their iOS device with Safari browser, users using their iOS device with the Chrome browser, users using Android with the default browser or with the Chrome browser, and users having all kinds of combinations between their laptops, their tablets, and their smartphones. It is very important that the solution that you implement can support all of these scenarios, because we know our customers, we know the end users. They often switch between the different platforms, and they often don't even know why they switched. So the solution that you choose must be able to treat all of these different combinations and not to treat them separately, because this is unacceptable and this will increase the friction on your end users. So the solution must have a method of dynamic linking between all user devices and browsers into a single user experience for a single user entity. And it's not enough to have a portability capability across devices and browsers. The portability also has to extend and come together with usability across all channels. This is our challenge number 4. Like most businesses, you likely have many apps and many channels. Some of them are native mobile, web interfaces. You might have a call center. And with the passwordless authentication, if you take your customers through an experience that in some channels they can go with a password, in some they must go passwordless, this is a very bad experience that will just create for them lots of frustration. And it will also break the user flow. So you need to make sure that, for example, if a customer starts their journey in a chatbot, talking with the representative and then getting into a dead end, and they need to talk to the representative on the call center, you don't want them to go through the cumbersome authentication again from the beginning. You want them to be able to leverage a single unified identity that you provide to them across all the different channels. Only with a single unified identity, you can deliver a true omni-channel experience that your customers will enjoy the seamless journeys. So putting it all together, what are the challenges that you need to be able to face in order to go truly passwordless? Complexity, security, portability, and usability. And this is exactly what Bind ID by Transmit Security provides you. It provides you with a secure, easy to use passwordless authentication solution that supports any device on any channel. And let's see it in action and then talk a little bit more about it. So to see it in action, what I want to show you a few recorded videos that we did of the experience. The experience that I'm going to show you is going to start with the authentication. When a user comes with a mobile device and they want to authenticate to a service, in this case, let's say that this is a shop that you built on one of the open platforms, you want to provide them with a very simple and intuitive authentication solution. And it went super fast because the friction is so low. So I want to show it to you again. When the user clicks on login, what happens is that Bind ID invokes the FIDO biometrics on the platforms, authenticates the users, return the response to the service, and that's it. The user is authenticated, identified, and can enter the service. Next, let's take a quick look at registration. This is also effortless and frictionless. When a user comes for the first time and they want to do the authentication, the only thing that we need to add on top of the authentication experience that you've seen before is to get a handle to their identity by asking them for an email and verifying that they do have access to this email using a one-time code sent to this email. Then what we do, we enroll them to Passwordless and we register a platform authenticator on the device. So the next time they come, they can easily do the authentication that you've seen in the previous slide. So simple, so secure, so effortless. And as we said, this experience must span across all of the different channels. So it's not just in all different devices. So it's not just the mobile device, it is also the laptop. So let's go to the laptop and see how it looks in the laptop. On the laptop, you'll see that the experience is consistent. We want to create this familiarity for the users, and we want to leverage the platform FIDO authenticators if they're available on the device. So when a MacBook Pro, for example, device, if the user comes and tries to access, since the device supports FIDO, we can go and authenticate the user directly on the laptop. If this device had not supported FIDO, we would have transitioned the user using a QR or other methods to use the mobile device as an authenticator. But we keep the user within a very consistent, simple, and effortless user experience that also provides you as an organization the level of security that you're expecting. So if you revisit the slide that we talked about and we look at Bind ID in the context of these challenges, what we see is that Bind ID solves for you all of the 4 challenges that you mentioned. Simplicity instead of complexity. It is easy to integrate based on simple OIDC integration. It is simple to scale it, and it is simple for the end user to understand intuitively what they're requested to do. It is secured and it eliminates all of the password. So there is no password in the registration, there is no password in the authentication, there is no password in recovery. This is a passwordless native authentication solution. It is portable. We allow you to authenticate on any device, whether it's Windows, whether it's a Mac, whether it's an iOS, or whether it's an Android, whatever combination that you have, we support it. And lastly, it is usable across all different channels, from web, native, call center, and more. You can provide a single unified identity experience and improve the customer experience. But it's not enough to address these challenges with the right solution. There is also a very significant responsibility that you have as an organization, and this is about communicating and supporting your customers as they go through the passwordless journey. And the way to do it is first understand where they're at. What are the things that bother them? You have to listen very carefully to them. On one hand, we know that our customers, all of the end users, have been using biometrics authentication methods for a long time. Many users now use their Face ID, Touch ID, fingerprint to unlock their device, and they go with it to everywhere they go. But when it comes to their perception and the way that they want to authenticate to your service, there is still work on your side that you need to take care of in order to have a successful and a significant adoption of your passwordless solution. And just to bring it into a more tangible way, let's look at the recent study that really went and tried to ask users about what is their perception of the FIDO biometric authentication mechanism. And you see this high number, 67% of customers worry about keeping their biometrics secure. 67% believe that when they perform biometric authentication, their biometric leave the device and is shared with the service. This is a very significant misconception that you need to take care of, because you want to move away from passwords and you want to make sure that your users will be encouraged and that they will go to and adopt this very happily. And what's the way to do it? We have our best practices that we've developed and we want to share it with you. So first is about educating them, letting them know that this solution is secure. Then you want also to promote it. You want them to have the awareness. You want to tell them that they can go and log in biometrics. You want to prompt them. You want them to be aware of it in real time when they're going through the authentication. And you also want to notify them. You want to build this acknowledgement that they have just completed a strong authentication. They've just completed a better authentication experience than they used to have with the password. But it does not stop there. Some of the users will need to be pushed even further. They need to be encouraged. And then we really recommend you to go with the following three. One is motivate them. Limit functionality for those who are not using passwordless. Make sure that if you improve the security posture of your device, you get more capability. Incentivize them. Add functionality for those who switch. And lastly, support them. Make sure that even though it might cost you to support them through this process, it is worth spending the cost on this journey of your end users and customers, instead of supporting them through security breaches and through account recovery when they feel that they suffer from a password-based authentication experience. Super important. So let's try to recap and put it all together. The time to go passwordless is now, and you can do it successfully by following the step that we walked you through. One, identify your business outcomes. Don't start a project without it. The technology is great. Passwordless is here and ready, but you want to have a successful business outcome. After you do it, make sure that you go and find and loop in all the relevant stakeholders and create this collaborative effort. Whether it's people in the business, whether it's people in security, whether it's people around digital experience, you need to make sure that all of the stakeholders are aware of the project and that they're a part of the project. Tap into the expertise of a FIDO certified vendor. FIDO is a super powerful alliance that provided lots of great resources and protocols, but when you want to go and implement a FIDO-based solution, you want to make sure that you choose a trusted partner, a trusted vendor to work with. Establish a timeline and benchmark so it won't slip. And then also start with mapping passwordless into the different user journeys. Test it, validate it, make sure that your users are going to be happy with the new experience. Make sure that the integration is quick. If your solution provider tells you that this integration is a matter of months, this is something that you should start asking questions about. The integration of a passwordless solution should be simple and effortless. And once you do it, do the extra step, move away from password and completely remove them. Take your organization to a passwordless reality and enable your users with a new passwordless experience to log in from any device across all different channels. And last but not least, pave the way. Have an active role in making this journey successful. With these actionable steps, we believe that you can achieve a very successful passwordless journey and improve security and improve user experience. I want to thank you all for listening, and I want to encourage you to reach out to us if you want to hear more from our experience on how we help organizations to go passwordless, and how our solution will enable you with very minimal effort to improve the security and improve the user experience. Feel free to scan the QR code to visit our resources and to get more, or just to shoot us an email, and we'll be also here around. So thank you so much and have a great rest of the conference.